Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new installment of the ME Show. My name is Ali Midawi, and we are super excited on a brand new episode. And today, where are my fashionistas at? Today, where are my stylish people at? I know myself, I cannot wait to get educated because in many cases, we all think if you don't appreciate what you are wearing, all clothes are the same clothes. And there's such a thing as fast food clothing right now, where you're going to any of the local stores in the mall and you're getting something that by the first wash, you realize, man, I got to go buy some more. Well, what if we can talk about something high end quality and will last for a very, very long time? Something that you can feel good and be proud to be wearing. But more importantly, a clothing line usually tells a story of the individual that is behind it. It expresses the core values of what the person stands for and is all about. And this gentleman and the name that I'm going to be sharing with you today absolutely is in full alignment with not only his core values, extremely educated, a doctorate, might I add, and whether it's from marketing, whether it's from business development, whether authoring books, whether having an incredible collegiate athletic career as well. I am super, super excited. We've done business before, we've done interviews before, but this is the very first and certainly not the last time live in the ME Show. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up once and for all for the one and only Dr. Jason Ray. What is going on, sir? How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I am super excited. Not gonna hide it. My goodness, we've been talking about doing so many things together over a little period of time, especially doing this interview, and I'm so excited that we finally got to it. I want to dive right in because I want to take advantage of your amazing brain, and not only we're going to entertain, we're going to infotain, but I'm going to try to get some wisdom of yours from the years that you've been doing all the things that you've been doing. But before we do so, I'd like to dive into the inception, the creation, the genesis of the great Dr. Jason Ray. A lot of people hear the edifications and they hear the introductions and they don't know there's usually a story behind a story. And you certainly, sir, not only have embodied what it means to overcome adversity and create and recreate yourself many times over, but tell us a little bit about how this whole visionary man started, how we've come about to develop to become where you are today, your background and your starting of the story of Dr. Jason Ray.
So, literally from the time I touched down on planet Earth, I've been on the move. And I was on the move because I had a father who chose a career in the military. So, literally within a week or two of being born, I was shuttled across country and landed in Alaska, which is where we stayed for a couple of years. And from that point on, we moved very regularly into different locales, different states, and different countries. Was fortunate enough at an early age, from age 4 to 9, to live in Germany. We lived in 2 different places over the course of those 5 years. And what that did for me, because of the foresight of my parents, is it helped me develop a worldview very early on. We traveled extensively throughout Europe during those 5 years, and I'm forever grateful for that. So once we got back to the United States, we continued to move because my dad transitioned from his military career, which he retired, and transitioned into federal law enforcement, starting with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, most commonly known by the masses as ATF. So that meant we continued to move. And my dad, along with my mom, in various ways influenced me more greatly than even I know in some cases. So all praise and all credit go to my mom and dad.
Well, I have a lot of questions because I thought I knew a lot about you, but there's more for me to know.
Okay.
Talk to me about, first of all, do you speak German? Do you have a little bit left in the German language within you?
Words that are not suitable for work are the majority of the words that I know. No, I don't. I don't know a lot. That's a skill, in fact, that my dad, or that you share with my dad. My dad could literally breathe German. Right, he spoke German at a colloquial level,
Wow.
and a lot of that had to do with the 5 years that we spent there were years 8 through 12 overall for him. But any
So,
dad had spent an appreciable amount of time, he got a grasp on the language. So the 1,000 days that he spent in Vietnam during the war, he spoke Vietnamese very well. The time that he spent in Korea, he could speak Korean, and then of course German
yeah,
was
see, I relate to your father on that aspect. I mean, I tell everybody, put me in any country for 90 days, I will pick up that language
right.
hands down.
Yes.
I remember we used to go to Korean church for a period of time. It was like 2+ years, and I would come in and "Pugmani purusyo," and then they're like, "You speak Korean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I understand what you're saying." Like we will literally pick it up real quick. Wherever you would send me, I would genuinely, even before, many of you know that I speak Spanish fluently, but my wife never spoke Spanish with me when we met. Remember, I had broken English. She had broken English. I didn't speak Spanish. She didn't speak Moroccan. So it was America that connected us with English. So it's weird for her till this day to talk to me in Spanish. But the first time we went to Colombia, it was a quick vacation. I came back. Everybody's like, "Your Spanish is fluent," and I'm like, "Yeah," because I was part of the environment. So it's fascinating to hear that, and it explains a lot about even how you yourself evolve, adapt, and you can real quick pick up on a new industry and the different things that you've done. Let's talk about that military background or even the ATF world. Has that have had any impact on you, the way you operate, the way, like, because I know we are our parents by proximity. And so do you feel like some of that military upcoming has impacted the way you do things?
Without a doubt. So I'm 54 years old. My bed was made this morning the moment I got out of it. And that all has to do with the household that I grew up in. Now, my dad was suitable for law enforcement because, as I like to term it, he had an overdeveloped sense of right and wrong, which is a personality trait that can be attributed to most uh, people in law enforcement. Well, I'm
So,
not an outlaw by any stretch. I'm the youngest, right? So, from a birth order
mhm.
standpoint, I can fathom getting away with things, which would not make me effective psychologically in law enforcement.
So I got it, man. You are in a book because the more I talk to you, the more I want to read, and that's a good thing. So the man of habit that you've become, because you talked about making the bed. Talk to me about a day in the life of Dr. Jason Ray.
Okay,
Like very habitual, or every day has a different agenda, or like, there are some people, I know myself, like if you throw me off my routine is off and my mindset is off and I have to like readjust. Are you like that, or it's just like every single day has its own agenda?
so there are some things that happen every day without fail, and those things do not change. The rest of the day, so my work day, I have mapped out over a 6 hour period in 15-minute increments. Those are very flexible to the extent that you can be flexible in a 15-minute increment. But there are some things that happen every single day. So, first thing I do upon waking is I make up the bed. After I make up the bed, I retrieve my wallet, which is under the bed. While I'm down on the floor getting my wallet from underneath the bed, I'm on my knees. Time to pray.
Mm.
And so I thank the Lord for the night that I made it through and ask Him to order my steps the day upcoming. Now, after the normal for the rest of us, right, which is, the shower and all that good stuff, I have 15 songs that I listen to without fail every day. And I'll just share some titles of the first 3 or 4
Yeah.
to give you a sense of the songs. So, song number 1, the title's Positivity. Song number 2, the title is Make It Happen. Song number 3, the title is Optimistic. Song number 4, the title is Spread My Wings, right? And the number 5, I'll just throw that in there because I love her. The title is Simply the Best by Tina Turner, right? So those songs build a mental wall, right, of positivity for the day. What they don't do is eliminate the challenges that present themselves on an ongoing basis every day. What they do is change the manner in which I respond to those challenges.
I love that. So let's dive a little bit onto, you had a book that you've written a couple of books, but you wrote your story on one of your books on your collegiate experience and some adversities that you have experienced. What can you share about that experience and how has it built your character and built your new version and recreated Dr. Jason Ray? Because sometimes life throws kind of curveballs at us, but you certainly found an opportunity within every obstacle. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So we were speaking about character or habits, right? And one of my, dare I call it a character flaw, is perfectionism or being overly difficult on myself, right? And so the book of which you speak, I'm actually going back to the drawing board on it. It won't change inherently, but I simply wasn't satisfied with the finished product.
Hold on a second. Am I about to have breaking news? Is this what's happening right now? You're giving me an
actually,
exclusive?
yes.
An exclusive?
Exclusive.
Let's go.
So the revised edition of $31, the true cost of my education, will be out probably right around the top of the second quarter.
Nice.
Just in time for my birthday.
Nice.
And one might wonder, well, why is a book about you a birthday present to you? Well, it's because it's a weight that has been on my shoulders for 30 plus years. And while I thought I removed that weight, I really didn't to the extent that I needed to, both for myself and more importantly, the reader of the book. So that book, I'll give the Cliff Notes version. That book chronicles the derailing of my life as I'd planned it at that point, by bringing to my doorstep the greatest challenge that I'd faced at that point, and in some respects since. I was accused by a young woman of the worst thing, in my opinion, that a young man could be accused of. And circumstances beyond my control to some extent led me to make the decision to agree to admit to that. And before I could get degree number 1, I had a felony. And I had to adapt because the dreams and goals that I'd set for myself had not changed. The manner in which I was going to achieve them was going to have to change. And in short, that's that story. But to sum it up in 3 words, buy the book.
I love that. Buy the book, $31. Okay, so let's fast forward, and we've met through different opportunities, whether somewhere in the energy space, somewhere in the travel space, somewhere in network marketing, somewhere in the coaching space, somewhere. There's a lot of different things. How did you personally realize and figure out, like, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to do for the next phase of my life, and I want to do it well? And of course, it's kind of creating a little segue to Zino Zaccagnini, and we'll talk about it in depth, most likely after the commercial break. But give me that dash that happened where you were like, I know I did all these different things, but this is what I want to do. Where did the realization or the decision happen for you to do what you're doing right now?
Well, it's something of a long and circuitous route, but I'll do my best to shorten it. Finished school, didn't know what I was going to do, but was certainly limited in what I could do because I couldn't pass muster on a background check. And in late July of 1992, a week or two removed from my maternal grandmother's funeral, I answered an ad. And when I went to the facility that day, it was different than any what I believed to be a workspace or workplace at the time. It was different than any place I'd ever been. The environment was incredibly positive. Everybody was good looking. Everybody was friendly and helpful. And that day, I was introduced to network marketing. And more than the business, it was the personal growth factor or the personal growth piece that was most attractive to me because it helped me develop myself. It provided me an education that I'd not gotten elsewhere, and it showed me a different path to the same outcome that I'd always desired.
So, if I may ask, is this something that you are envisioning as a legacy play, or is this something that you are putting for business opportunities? Like, tell us, set us up before I drop a major cliffhanger on my people.
Okay. So at that time, to be quite frank, I didn't even know what a legacy was. I might have known what it meant, but I wasn't that intentional. I was simply trying to find a way to earn the money I felt I was worth. And the really good news to me in that instance was that I was in control of what I earned or what I got paid. I wrote my own paychecks, and that was very, very important to me. My ego was bruised, heavily bruised, coming out of undergrad.
So, if I may ask, should we expect Zino Zaccagnini to be not only a premier, but a mega competitor in a retail space, which again, this is me setting up that cliffhanger, and or there's some work to be done before we even mention Zino within the premier outlet or clothing lines that are out there?
No. So one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, according to Stephen Covey, or if you want to go to the Bible, according to the book of Colossians, is that one must begin with the end in mind.
Correct.
So before we even had a logo in place, we knew what space we wanted to occupy. We identified the players in those spaces and benchmarked them as we made our way to developing our line. So we're there right now.
Yeah, I like that. Well, good. Well, so ladies and gentlemen, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break, and you are going to want to come back because we're going to dive into quality. We're going to dive into the model. We're going to dive into the why, all things Zino. And you're going to hear this name. And remember, Zino Zaccagnini is something that is right before your eyes in the history books right now being created. We didn't know Apple was Apple until it made it big. We did not know Microsoft was Microsoft until it made it big. And I'm here to tell you, Zino is here and is about to make it big. So we're going to take a little bit of a commercial break. And after we come back, we're going to dive into all things you want to know as to how can I get my hands on Zino Zaccagnini. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jason Ray, the Chief Marketing Officer for the Zino Zaccagnini Apparel Group. A chance meeting between myself and the founder a couple of years ago led to the shared mission of providing a premium luxury apparel brand that focuses on exclusivity and craftsmanship. To see our current collection, you can visit us at thezinoshop.com. Be iconic. Wear Zino.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ali Midawi in here. We are talking about all things Zino Zaccagnini. Remember that name, and you're probably going to be wearing it all over. Certainly, I will be. So, without any further ado, let's bring to the congregation, please. We need Dr. J. Ray. Dr. Jason Ray, we kind of dove into the past. We dove into the inception of the great mind. Right now, with your permission, I'd like to dive into all things Zino Zaccagnini. I know in 2022, this partnership was created, and the idea of creating something that is European feel, luxury feel, yet provided in here and kind of embedded into the culture, not only in the United States, but the Western modern world. But you did it in a way that's very, very unique, where it's not just about putting a logo on a clothing apparel. You actually took the time and done a lot of homework to make sure that you deliver some incredible quality product, including the use of bamboo. And we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about the inception of Zino. Tell us the story of Zino Zaccagnini and how it all came about.
Okay, so I'm going to tell the short version because the story of Zino essentially begins in 1998 with the development of my knowledge of fabrics and what have you. But the actual story is much more fun than that. The fall of 2022, I'm on vacation. And on this particular day, our stop was in Turkey. And in Turkey, there are a lot of manufacturing facilities for very, very well-known high-end brands. And because you're at ground zero, the pricing is a fraction of what it is here. And when I tell you I went nuts that day shopping, I really, really, really shopped. And I'm coming through a courtyard in the shopping area, and I've got probably the better part of 5 bags in either hand, in both hands. And the gentleman kind of caught my eye and said, "Hey, she's going to be happy." And I looked, and he pointed at the bags. He said, "She's going to be happy." And I kind of hefted the bags, and I said, "These are for me." And I got the chuckle that I was hoping I would from him. And then that led to a conversation. During that conversation, he shared with me the fact that he has a clothing brand both in Greece and another in Italy. Those brands are more couture, right? So it's more cut and sew. It's about the rag on the rack. They're very high end, very successful. And maybe 45 minutes later, our conversation concluded with us exchanging contact information. And by and large, when I travel, I always meet really neat people. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to keep in touch with this guy. And maybe 4 weeks later, we had our first conversation. And on a very loose schedule, every 3 to 6 weeks, one of us would call the other, and we would just have a conversation. And the gentleman's name is Zino Zaccagnini. Mm-hmm. Zino's a mouthful, right? And so probably 3 months in, I'd shorten that to Zino. And while Jason isn't a mouthful, just from a familiarity standpoint, he had shortened that to Jay. So I'm Jay and he's Zino. And we would just talk about whatever. Sometimes business things, sometimes not. What's going on with your family? Let me share what's going on with mine. And maybe a year and a half in, he started asking me some very pointed marketing questions and some business questions. Well, at this point, we're big bad buddies. So what I know, I'll share, no problem. And I believed he was asking me these questions so that he himself could then go and do the things I suggested. Well, unbeknownst to me, it was essentially a job interview, right? And during these conversations, the question was, if I were to bring a brand to the States, what would you recommend I do? I said, well, first thing I would do, I would recommend not going the route that you are or where you are overseas. I'd recommend entering the premium casual apparel space. Well, what would I name it? Well, we don't even have to put any thought into that. You've got a great name, and especially if we go with the shortened version of your first name, right? Because first initial and last initial are the same, and that resonates a certain way in people's brains. Moreover, your last name ends in a vowel, and a lot of people are conditioned subconsciously to associate that with higher quality, right? Yeah. there's some very great brands out there that end with a Y.
Gucci, Ferrari, Lamborghini. Yeah, that's interesting that you put. I never even thought about that. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yes, Fendi, and so on and so forth. And so he said, okay, all right. Well, thank you for telling me my name is cool, but what does that mean? I said, that doesn't mean anything. And that's good news. And the good news about that is we will determine what that means. And if we're intentional in our movements, then we can create the right definition behind the name.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's dig into the quality itself. This is not, again, a lot of time, and I'm telling you, umpteen times I've had people like, Ali, I'm launching a clothing line. Can you help me brand it? I'm like, but just hold on. When you say a clothing line, are you talking about a logo or you're talking an actual clothing line? Because everybody just wants to put a logo on anything and say, I got a clothing line. Like, no, you created a logo.
Right.
That's
Right.
all you've done.
That's
So
it.
let's talk about the I mean, as much as you can share with us, obviously, I know it's proprietary technology and information, but what can you tell us about the fabric and the process of making sure that that's the best, where luxury meets actual quality itself?
Okay. So now we're going to rewind, right, to 1998. In 1998, there was a period of time where my vehicle situation was non-existent. It was a dead deal, and I would spend the better part of 2 hours after my work day waiting for my ride.
Mm.
Now, back then, at home, all of us had dial-up still, right? So
hold on a second. For you children,
right,
right. We gotta put a little disclaimer there. For you children, if you YouTube search dial-up, it's gonna sound like this. That was our internet back then.
yes,
Go on, Doc.
incredibly slow, right? And at my workplace, of course, we had a T1, lightning fast. So that was a benefit of staying after for me. And it made that time pass faster. And around that time, I was exploring the opportunity or exploring the possibility of having what ultimately would be a brand, not a line. But because I had a lot of time on my hands, I did a lot of research and began having discussions with people that owned, textile mills down in North Carolina and overseas manufacturers. And I learned actually much more than I needed to. I was overqualified, if you will, for what I was doing at that time. Because at that time, I was doing, to your point, I was slapping a logo on on a garment and exchanging the idea associated with that logo for money, right? So I had to come up with something tangible to serve as a platform for the idea.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. So it took 25 years almost, but all of that knowledge came to the forefront when it was time to begin putting things together for Zino. And we interviewed, if you will, multiple manufacturers across several countries. And there were three things that led us to make the decision to partner with the manufacturer that we're working with. Number one, they manufacture the fabric. Then they move into our proprietary blend in this case and do the cut and sew. Number two, they were more consultative, for lack of a better word, in talking to us about putting it together. They weren't order takers. They made suggestions, a lot of which we are employing in what we're doing. And then lastly, they were very transparent in their pricing. And that was very important to me. I don't need a sexy number. I need the real number. And that's what they provided.
Let's talk about that. A lot of times people don't appreciate quality and they go for cheap, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like, oh, I can just go to a local store and get something, and look just as good. But there is a fallacy in that statement itself, because it may looking good, right? But sometimes you wear something and your skin is itchy, as you're wearing it, and you're like, oh, it's the tag. It's a little bit more than the tag. It's
Yes,
probably
it
the
is.
right. Like let's talk about the importance of quality in here. And of course, look, not everybody can afford a Rolls Royce. You can't say a Rolls Royce is too expensive. No, you just can't afford it.
Right.
So let's talk about who is this for. Obviously, it's for everybody. And I tell every single person, look, I've seen what you wear, and why not wear something better at the same price, or even better compared to the quality? Because the fabric itself is not, again, you take the time and you work with the manufacturer. It's not just something that's overseas and you're seeing it after it comes in a box.
Right. So actually, I'll just give you a personal story that kind of speaks to my having moved that direction for years. Last week, I decided I needed a few new pairs of dress shoes. And as I looked through the collection that will be given away, most of those shoes are in the 8 to 10 year old range, which sounds like a lot, and it is. However, I'm getting back end justification, right, for the amount of money that was spent on those shoes. And so I'll use numbers because it makes for a better illustration. So for
Hmm.
example, to spend $500 for a pair of dress shoes, it is a lot. Unless and until you understand that here we are 10 years later, and I can still wear them. I just want new ones now. I could still wear them. So then if we take that, so it's a $500 pair of shoes, which at the 10-year mark works out to $50 a year, right? And if you were to buy a $50 pair of dress shoes, number one, they're not going to look good at all. They're not going to be good from a quality standpoint, and they're certainly not going to last long. So even breaking it down that way, it's still not apples to apples. And so the same thing is the goal with our garments. I'm not implying that we want you to wear a t-shirt or have a sweatsuit for 10 years, but you can. And that's very, very important to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued, to not only share with our audience. And by the way, you know, I'm the kind of person who likes to put my money where my mouth is. Dr. Ray, we'd like to, we do a lot of giveaways, as you already know, a lot, and we certainly are going to do the same exact thing for our audience who are listening to this right now. So go to that website that you're seeing in your screen right now, or just go to the copy of this episode, ZinoZaccagnini.com or shopzino.com. That is accurate, right? Shopzino.com.
It's actually the Zino Shop.
TheZinoShop.com. There you go. Go to TheZinoShop.com, and any apparel that you buy, and again, any apparel that you buy, any shirts or hoodies or anything that I can tell you right now, just for getting it, you've done yourself a favor and you got high end quality. But we're also going to gift for the first 30. Again, it is capped to the first 30, a 5-night, 6-day vacation to Mexico. You heard that right. This is not a timeshare. There is no presentation. We are not making any money. There is no advertisement. We don't sell your data. It's truly just a gift and a token of appreciation, because we want the world to see Zino. We want that superhero Z all over your chest. And we know for a fact that we can stimulate that behavior by giving you a $3,000 comped vacation. Again, this is for 2 people, all inclusive, lodging, food, and beverage in beautiful Mexico or any of the Caribbean resorts that we are offering. The only thing you got to be responsible for is your taxes and transportation, but the actual stay, the food and the beverage will be comped for you. That is a $3,000 retail value. Doc, do you think that'll move some people? Do you think that some people will be excited of getting some of the apparel?
100%. Moreover, what I would encourage all of them to do is whatever it is you purchase, hoodie, sweatsuit, t-shirts, when you take that vacation, please take a picture or two in your Zino shirt, upload that to us, and we'll provide that email address, because we have a portion of the site, which is probably one of my favorite pieces of the site. And I don't know if you want me to speak about that yet or not.
Yeah, no, let's dive into it. Yeah, absolutely.
So on the website, there's a page. That page is called Faces in the Crowd. I'm an acronym guy, probably because of my military upbringing. So the acronym for FACES, for all colors, ethnicities, and sizes. And it is a gallery of individuals that have supported the brand. They're taking pictures, whether the pictures are posed, they're candid, engaged in activities, whatever the case may be. They'll take those pictures, they will send them to faces@thezinoshop.com. Again, faces@thezinoshop.com. And we will place them on the site along with their first name, last initial, and city and state.
There you go. And it's right there if you're watching this on the video format. And again, in the copy itself, you're going to find that email address that we have added as well. That is exciting. I love how you actually give an opportunity to highlight different individuals. Dr. Ray, would you be okay if any influencers out there who want to promote this brand and want to collaborate with you, is that okay to reach out?
Yes, it is.
What's the better way or the best way that you would want any influencers that may be watching this and appreciate quality and appreciate luxury and would like to reach out for a collaboration?
What I would recommend they do is send an email to faces@thezinoshop.com, and then in the subject line put influencer.
There you go.
And the reason I'm offering that is because Dr. Jason E. Ray at ZinoZaccagnini.com is a bit daunting to remember. I've known Zino for a couple of years now, and I still consciously say, okay, wait a minute, that's 2 C's and 1 G. Right? So the Zino faces@thezinoshop.com, subject influencer or ambassador.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We got some bills to pay, but when we do come back, we're going to dive into the future, into the vision, into the legacy that Zino Zaccagnini is creating, and of course, how you can take advantage and be part of history. We'll be right back.
We are especially proud of our products because the wearer of them will feel the difference. That difference is in wearability, drape, and the feel of the fabric. That's achieved because we are not taking our name and placing it on a random garment. We instead have come up with a proprietary fabric mix that is manufactured exclusively for us in a world-class facility. Don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself. Visit thezinoshop.com. Be iconic. Wear Zino.
How awesome was that? Yes, indeed. Make sure that you visit that website so you too can take advantage and look like a superstar that you already know you are. All right, let's dive back into all things Zino. Doc, there's that statement that we heard, be iconic, wear Zino. Give me the vision behind that. Give me that's a bold statement, be iconic, wear Zino.
I think the first thing that I feel is worth mentioning is that those are two separate statements.
Right.
Right. We put periods, right? We didn't put a comma. So, and they're in the order that they're in purposely as well. So it's be iconic, period.
Mm-hmm.
Separate thought, wear Zino. It's not to imply that by wearing Zino, you'll be iconic. No, be iconic. Be who you are. And in the course of being who you are, wear this. And it'll support that. It won't cause that or promote that. It'll support that. And that's the thought behind our tagline.
Be iconic, wear Zino. When last time you and I spoke, we talked about a few different things from an innovative standpoint. And I know it's a bit taboo, but we got to talk about it. Underwear, taboo, and hygiene. Talk to me about that.
So initially, I considered it a pretty difficult task to talk about this. And a friend of mine said, imagine if you worked for a toilet paper company. So relatively speaking, it's much easier. By and large, the great majority of us wear underwear on a daily basis. And speaking to the gentleman, because that's who we have a product for, I will say this. We have a pair of underwear that will stand up anywhere, anytime, next to any brand. And you won't hear me speak that combatively for the most part, but I'll say it that way about this particular item. And the reason for that is we have put more thought into a pair of underwear than probably most people are willing to. And the good news is they won't have to. Our boxer briefs are, I would say, one of the crown jewels it's one of my personal crown jewels as it relates to Zino. And it's really a lead that I talk about in networking circles and whatnot. So the boxer briefs are manufactured with bamboo fabric. Bamboo fabric is something that a lot of people aren't even aware of, right? So that makes it check the exotic box because it's something foreign to most. Bamboo fabric is eco-friendly. So we're checking that box, and we're also staying aligned with one of our corporate core values, which is responsibility and sustainability. Now, the resume version is to say that bamboo fabric is naturally moisture wicking. What the heck does that mean? It means you won't sweat in your nether regions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the resume version is also to say that bamboo fabric is naturally antimicrobial. Well, what the heck does that mean? It means you won't stink. So you will neither sweat nor stink in your nether regions. And that's a real thing. As embarrassing or taboo or uncomfortable as that conversation may be, it's a very real one. So that's good right there. I think we're all set right there, right? No, that's not my personality. We're going to take it a step further. 1994, I think I was 24 years old, and I was making a couple bucks and decided it's time to get some custom suits. Well, the tailor, and it's actually a funny story for another time, or a neat story, but the tailor that I went to was a man that I met when I was riding the bus for 4 or 5 months, because he rode the bus every day. He was an Italian man living in Detroit. He rode the bus to his shop every day. And for a while, I was without a vehicle, and I was riding the bus every day and got to know him. So when the time came, he gave me a very fair price, and I got 3 suits made. And he asked me the question, how do you dress? I don't know what you mean. But do you dress to the left, to the right, or to the center? Not sure what that means. Well, what that means when a tailor asks that question is, where do your genitalia, men, naturally fall? Right? It's one of 3 places, to the left, to the right, or straight ahead. And when you answer that question, your pants are literally constructed differently. There are allowances from a fabric standpoint. There's a ever so slight shift in what's called the pouch pocket so that you have a more natural feel as you wear your pants. We've all seen people adjust themselves, right? Well, in tailor-made pants, it's not necessary. because you're adjusted. So our boxer briefs come in 3 options. Well, they come in different colors, clearly, and different sizes. But you can also pick Zino left, Zino right, Zino straight ahead. And if you get Zino left, then the boxers are created the same way a tailor would make suit pants for you if you dress to the left. And I submit to you now that the very first time somebody wears a pair of our boxer briefs and then returns to whatever their brand is the next day, there will be a marked difference that they will not be able to come back from.
Dr. J, we're gonna, you know that the shuffle dance?
Yes.
We're gonna need to contact them real quick and figure out how we can do an ad together. To the left, to the left.
There you go.
Right, to the
Yes.
left. Now
Yes.
lead. No,
Good
walk
idea.
it by yourself.
Good idea. Good idea. Yep.
Something to consider. I hear they are in the market for doing JVs as well. And that was, it's first and foremost, these are the things that most people don't talk about, but every single man in America does think about.
Yes.
And I bet you any woman who is in a relationship with a man appreciates this conversation, and you probably will get a lot of like amen to that. We need to get those to my man, right?
Yes.
Big time. Let's talk about expansion and growth. What do you anticipate, or at least what is your desire to see Zino Zaccagnini grow to the national scale, international scale, publicly traded scale, or you want to kind of keep it more of a smaller scale for a unique niche?
So international is the geographic goal. I won't get into the numbers because it's kind of crass, but we've certainly got some financial goals that we will reach. Publicly traded, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's simply unnecessary. And at that point, there can end up being too many cooks in the kitchen. There can be a departure from our core values and the manner in which we intend to achieve the goals that we've set.
Because at that point you're responding to the shareholders. You're no longer actually responding to the passion that led for the business model to get to where it needs to get in the first place. So
Exactly.
You are right on that point. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We work for our team members, right? Our circle. We work for our circle. And to clarify that, our circle is the people that support the brand. That's who we listen to. So, that's who we'll continue to listen to. And the boots on the ground that we have, for the most part, are our brand ambassadors. And there's some things that we're doing, and I'll actually share with you. There's some things that we're doing that will expand not the brand, but the lifestyle associated with Zino, right? So I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is it's a metal card, has the logo on one side, and then it's got our brand ambassador's name on it along with their unique ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not simply for them to have in their wallet. Because pull it out for what? So what we've been working on over the past month and will continue to work on and expand it is to create value in this card. Because if we didn't, it would be comparable to us just taking our name and throwing it on any rag. So our brand ambassadors have this card. They earn literal money from sales generated through their marketing efforts, but this will allow them to go into a coffee shop, and they'll remain nameless until we finalize it, but into a coffee shop, and they'll get a discount. And that coffee shop aligns with our brand values, okay? And as I continue to work with the team, we will continue to create more value in that card. And then there's a model under which any of our circle members, any of our supporters will be able to earn that card for themselves as well.
I like that. Are you looking to also expand the sales force, having account executives, I mean, talk to me about like what do you like to see from your circle around you, or you want to collaborate from an influencer? Because that has a little bit of a cultural approach too, right? Like having an inside sales team versus having, a collaboration. Are you looking to doing fashion shows? I mean, I'm intrigued by, what goes on in that brain of yours.
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that. This year, I don't have to say next year anymore. This year, we will be doing a few pop-up shows, and you can typify it as a pop-up show. You can typify it as a regional launch, whatever the case. But here's what I can tell you: they'll all be unique, and I don't mean that our event will be unique from others. I mean our event in Miami will be unique versus the one we do in Chicago, versus the one we do in Las Vegas, etc., etc. So if you, Ali, went to the New York version of our launch party or pop-up show, you can't call across country and tell a buddy of yours in Phoenix what it'll be like, because the one in Phoenix will be completely different from the one in New York, and so on. And I'm terribly excited about that, because that's rounding into my skill set, or the best part of my skill set. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and thank you for asking.
No, absolutely. Are you looking to also expand into other areas? I know, some companies they start with one, style of apparel, and then, glasses or, any accessories.
Those are things that I think will bring themselves to the table once we've put in the work, right? And so once we show ourselves as a viable brand, once we have made clear in the marketplace who we serve, then the partnerships will rear their heads, or the potential partnerships will rear their heads.
Well, I am certainly looking forward to it all. For the world right now that is watching, what are you most excited about right now for Zino Zaccagnini? And what are some of the best sellers? And what do you advise somebody? Go ahead and just try fill in the blank.
What I recommend anybody try first is a t-shirt. And the reason I say that is because the t-shirt, with the exception of undergarments, is the most widely worn piece of clothing on the planet. It has the widest demographic, it has the widest psychographic, and as such, we are familiar with a t-shirt to the extent that any of us is, right? So we know how this one feels versus that one feels. And because of our education within ourselves of what t-shirts are like, it'll be more clear to them with that garment than maybe the next one how different we are.
Well, I certainly next time you be seeing this guy, I'll be your own ambassador, your own fashionista right in here. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. Well, I am not only looking forward to Zino Zaccagnini and the story plus his story that is being created right before our eyes. I'm grateful, by the way, that you've trusted us enough to give us an opportunity to not only be part of your journey and bringing it to the marketplace. As we are coming towards the end to this interview, share with us some of your parting remarks for the audience that is listening right now, for your peers that is listening right now, and then maybe even for your team. Anybody that you want to give any kudos or shout out to, as well as we are wrapping it up.
Well, I'd say the first kudos, the first shout out has to go to my better half, my wife. I can't tell you the multiple assaults that have been committed on her ears over the last year or so as this has come into fruition. She has listened endlessly, patiently to everything that I'm aspiring to do in my role. She has made some suggestions that I jokingly say that I'll take credit for that are just amazing. And it really does begin and end with her. My mom has had to deal with just on and on and on, hearing about Zino and seeing my enthusiasm as I talk about the vision for it and what we're going to achieve and all of the great things I intend for us to do, or the part that I can play in what I intend for us to do going forward. So we're only just beginning.
Well, I'm excited to hear about that. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you visit ZinoZaccagnini.com or the ZinoShop.com. Make sure you get your t-shirt. And remember, at the very least, if you get just a t-shirt or you get any of the other apparel, you're for the first 30 individuals. This is exclusive and only for the first 30 individuals because we're going to get screenshots. We are giving away a 5-night, 6-day vacation, all inclusive to Mexico, a retail value of $3,000. This is not a timeshare. We are not making money out of it. There is no one anywhere from the Zino side or our side that's getting compensated. We are not selling your data. This is simply a gift and a token of thank you for making your purchase. And of course, make sure that you connect with Dr. Jason Ray. All of his information is in the copy along with this episode. You've seen him on the different social media retail assets that we've shared. You've heard his story right here, right now. I know there's more to his story that is going to be told on a primetime level on many, many media outlets. And I, again, anticipate and I envision the greats of the world to start fighting over Zino and wanted to work with Dr. Jason. So I'm forever grateful for you, Doc. I'm forever grateful to give us the opportunity to be part of your journey. And huge, huge shout out to the ME Studio team, Rich Tones behind the controls, Claudia Maritza Medawi that is making it possible for us to do what we do every single day. And of course, you, the listener, make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and share button because we want to make sure that we are giving you more and more of this value. And of course, the world needs to hear Dr. J's story. And until next time, we love you and appreciate you. Hey, Doc, tell them peace out, everybody.
Peace out.
I'm very excited about the future for Zino Zaccagnini. Our product line has been both designed and manufactured with intentionality. Our intent? To provide you with the greatest value possible. Let's talk about the men's boxer briefs, which are manufactured using bamboo fabric. Now, what that means to you is that you will neither smell nor sweat down there. And men, we know how important that is, particularly if you have a big day coming up. The boxer briefs will be available this spring upcoming. In the meantime, you can view the rest of the Zino Zaccagnini collection at thezinoshop.com. Be iconic. Wear Zino.